There are only 3 reasons why a woman can be offended, dissatisfied, or even starts to make a fight. If we don't get to the bottom of this right now, then your relationship lid. So listen carefully and fix it. We're gonna start with the most uncommon scenarios, and then we'll finish with the most popular. Scenario number 1. A man falls in love with a woman who is not spiritually close to him. They have different worldviews, but he tries not to pay attention to it. Because love, as they say, will get along. That's a bullshit. The problem will arise, and it will arise suddenly. Like a hernia on a wheel. There will come a day when a man just gets annoyed with a woman's behavior. Annoyed that she's not thrifty and asking for expensive gifts. Annoyed that she's friends or closely communicates with other men. Annoyed that she might raise her voice at him. It's annoying that she's an authority figure as an internet psychologist. In this case, man begins to fiercely express his discontent, and at first the girl might even listen. But her acceptance won't change anything because they're different. Scandals will be repeated again and again because the girl is required to be a different person, and she doesn't want to. Therefore, a little later the woman will definitely say, "Listen, I've had enough of this." After which she will begin to freeze or even ignore. At this point, the man becomes unbearably afraid. He would be glad to just roll everything back. He texts the woman, "Let's not fight, I love you very much." But this spell doesn't work anymore. Because as soon as a man started fighting with a woman, he was losing his value and his attraction. He was losing his value and attractiveness. A man shouting at a girl not only looks weak, he actually showing faint-heartedness. Because at the moment of a quarrel, a scandalous man does not think about a woman and relationships. He's feeling sorry for himself. After all, he chose her not as a strategic ally, not as like-minded person, but as a muse. That is, I simply fell in love. The man is so used to indulging to his feelings that instead of a sensible assessment of the situation, he wants to turn a woman into another person. Just with a wave of a magic wand, Shazam, and she became malleable. Scenario number 2. A quiet, calm girl. She doesn't make blow brains nice, as they say, but she can be a little boring. What does this lead to? The man's passion hormone levels, and he loses his cherished feeling of being in love. At this moment he turns into sober, and therefore a very dissatisfied warrant officer. Everything starts to annoy him, everything starts to irritate him. A man sometimes realizes that he is sucking problems out of thin air and finding them out of the blue. But his condition forces him to fight with the girl. This continues until the woman gets completely tired of this whole theater. As soon as the dear one gets offended and won't go make peace first, the man's feelings will immediately return. He will grab his head and say, "What have I done?" And then he will go to makeup. But the scenario will repeat again. As soon as scandals begin, followed by trying on, the woman realizes that the man is dainty, only under the heel. She becomes more daring, independent, and capricious. A man's hormones are rising, because with every fight he wants her more. But the woman is no longer interested, and so she will soon leave him. Now, the most popular scenario. The woman is constantly resentful and often angry for no apparent reason. This is a clear signal of an imminent breakup. In a relationship like this, the girl, she gets pissed off about everything. She can get mad at you, hang up on you, or even start ignoring you. It's like a pendulum in the relationship. Fighting. Reconciliation, reconciliation, fight. Your importance to the woman goes up, but you and her perception rolling down. Why? Because she's the conductor in this play. She decides when you'll fight and when you'll reconcile, and when you make up and if you're ever gonna get back together. Remember a simple formula. If a woman wants to fight with you, she's bored with you. It's important to remember a simple rule. Fighting with a woman is never justified. You got emotional, then you've already lost. And there are no exceptions here. Because even if you to get her to agree with you, she'll end up saying you're repressing her. For this reason, if you start a fight with a woman, it's always your fault. Any girl knows that a domestic scandal is an act of cowardice on the part of a man. After all, if you're ready to take action, you don't stress. If you could make a firm decision, you'd be too lazy to raise your voice and argue for hours and hours. You'd have one energy-saving conversation and calmly explain to the girl, there cannot be that in our relationship, for this reasons. That's all. Let's say that after this conversation, the woman has done something wrong again. Sorry, here we go. It's very simple. Some people will think it's too harsh. In my opinion, too harsh is condemning a future family to endless disagreements and conflict. What's tough is to realize after years of married life, to realize that it was all downhill from the start and you lied to yourself all along. Lastly, let's take the craziest situation. A woman cheated on you. You'd think you'd have every right to beat her up. That's right, you can do it. But the effect will be the opposite. Your hysterics, insults, yelling and crying will only help her justify her and make you look crazy. You know what would really scare a woman who cheated? She'll be shocked if you look at her with a disappointed look and don't say a word. Say a single word. Never, ever. That's when you can only sympathize the horrors that will be running through a woman's mind. Because there's nothing more terrifying than the unknown and the unspoken. If a man is unable to react calmly to the harshest events in a relationship and immediately gets involved in a fight with a woman, he's doomed. Such a man will always be controlled by the emotional leash in the woman's hands. But the man for whom conflict is an interesting challenge and an opportunity to probe the woman, that man will be a success. To achieve this kind of equanimity and the ability to understand a woman's character can only be achieved through extensive practice. If you want to understand more about relationships and playfully manage the emotional state of any woman, be sure to watch my videos if you want to learn the nuances